This episode is proudly sponsored by the Boxing Lab. They are a fitness facility in Coventry that help people get fitter, stronger and healthier through small group personal training. With expert coaching, personalised support and a welcoming community, they make getting in shape simple and sustainable. Details on how to contact them will be in the show notes.
It was like, right, okay, I need to go all in. You know, I can't be getting up, going to work the whole day. And then I said, I'm not actually going anywhere. So I'm going to, pursue boxing. He stood up, shook my hand and said, I'm with you all the way. So I hope when I have kids, they make me as proud as what I make you. You know what I mean? If they're willing to support me, how they have done for the last however many years, it's, I'd only be letting myself down there.
Yeah.
So that's like the extra gear that keeps me going.
You made that decision to give it your all and go all in. Were there any voices in your head telling you that you might fail? Welcome, Brad. How are you feeling?
I'm not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Fantastic.
We were saying before, you've filmed in the studio before, haven't you?
Yeah.
But you did say that the studio looks a little bit different with the lights.
It looks different, and I was actually sat where you were sat, so you're really trying to throw me off today.
Oh, good. So we've not met before, but we've got some mutual friends, and my best friend's little brother said that he could get you on my podcast. So I'm really grateful that he did that and that you've agreed to come on.
No problem.
What I know about you is that you are a boxer.
Yep.
In terms of everything else, just you as a person, I don't know anything, which I quite like because then we can...
I'd probably prefer it that way as well.
So then we can sort of get into it and learn about you. But if my followers didn't know who you were either, could you give a bit of an explanation, just who you are, what you do, and then we'll go from there?
So, you've obviously said my name. Brad Goldsmith's my full name. 27 years old. Grew up in Coventry all my life. As you said, professional boxer. I started boxing at the age of 8 as an amateur. Wow. Till the age of 21. I had 82 fights as an amateur.
82?
Yeah, good few. Won 60 of those. And then turned professional. And I'm now currently a professional with a record of 15-1 with 10 knockouts.
Well done, you.
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
It's not too bad.
Very humble too. Okay, so you started at the age of 8. What made you get into it? How did that all happen?
I'll be honest. I mean, looking back, I didn't actually want to get into it. It was a friend. It was my stepmom's friend. Her son did it and said, so-and-so's just started this. He loves it. You should bring Brad down. And I think it might have been on the day that I was with my dad or whatever, or supposed to be with my dad. So went down. That was at Cov Boys Club. I can't remember exactly where it was now because I was so young.
Was that by the roundabout?
It's like where Purple Planet was.
Yeah.
It was there.
Was there basketball there as well?
Yeah, there was loads. Yeah. There was loads. Sometimes for the warm-up, we used to do football, and if we preferred the football, we'd sack the boxing off and carry on kicking the football. Started out there. Kind of didn't really. I don't know. Really, it's hard to think back. Didn't really. I wouldn't say I did not enjoy it, but obviously I kept going back, and it's funny because the lad that I went to go with to join, and he packed it in. I continued, and if I'm right, the council had something to do with the health and safety towards the kids sessions because it was non-existent basically. so that got finished, the kids sessions shut down and whatever else, and I probably stopped for, I don't know, let's say 4 months, something like that. Didn't really do much. Well, not that I can remember. Didn't do much. I was always sporty. I was always hyperactive. Needed to tunnel my energy into something. And then my stepmom again. She said, I found this club. It's local to my mum's, Standard Triumph, and I joined there, and I was there for the whole of my amateur career.
Wow. So you mentioned that you didn't love it
at first. No.
What made you keep going back then? Why was that?
It was just sport. I applied myself to anything sport related. So whether that was rounders at school or basketball, or I just kind of I just love sport. Do you know what I mean? And probably weirdly, I liked the aggression in it as well, because you can let out a bit of aggression. You know, and looking back, most importantly, it's taught me discipline. So that's something that I've carried on the whole way up to, you know, where I am now.
Amazing. Obviously, I want to hear all about like your boxing now and how you've got to the level that you are at. But in terms of like growing up, so you started at 8, you then like, you were still amateur
Yeah.
until 21.
21. So you can't. So I started training at 8, but you can't actually fight. I couldn't actually fight until I was 11. So 8, 9, 10, technically 11. So for the 3 years, it was just like training.
Was it still sparring or?
Yeah, probably not a lot, you know, because you don't need to be getting punched so much in the head when you're 8, you know, when you're not really developed. So, and then, like I said, started fighting at 11. And then when you first start out, it was like 3, like 1.5 minute rounds. And then it naturally progresses. Then you go 3 2-minute rounds. Then when you get older, it's 3 3-minute rounds. So, and then that was always the limit, if that makes sense. So.
Okay. What was like school life, childhood, kind of during that time when you've got that training? Did that take all of your focus, or did you still manage to do okay in school?
I did terrible in school, I'll be honest. Yeah, right. I'm not the best academic, or I'm not the best academically. I think that's the right word. Yeah. But yeah, I'm one of those. If it's something I'm interested in, then I'll apply myself 110%. You know, I'd never skip corners on something that I enjoyed. So when it comes to like your maths, your English, your science, that kind of stuff, I wasn't naughty. You know, I'd never caused trouble or nothing like that. I just wasn't interested. So, and it's like my brain capacity couldn't take it all in and whatever else. So I actually left school with, I passed PE, funny enough, and drama. Yeah. So. Yeah. So
what school did you go to?
Secondary school. I went to Woodlands.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So they're the only 2 grades that I got leaving school, essentially.
So you left school 16-ish.
Yeah. I think I was probably 15 actually, because I'm August.
Right. Okay.
So I'm like
You're like a baby.
Yeah.
What was life like for you? So like at that age, you left school, but like where were you living? Who were you living with?
So I've always lived with my mum, and as I said, like the gym was like dead close. When I got to a certain age, I used to obviously walk there, walk back. Kind of had that routine for years. Yeah. Years, and then there'd be like a Friday session. I'd then go to my dad's on the weekend. He'd pick me up, and it'd kind of be, I'll be with him for the weekend, and then back into the school routine, back into the boxing routine. That was always the same. And then of course you get to an age where you can drive, so you start taking myself there. And then it's just kind of progressed naturally, obviously with me growing up as well. So
your first fight then? So was it at the age of 11?
Yeah, I was 11. Yeah, I was 11.
What was that like?
I can't actually really remember, to be honest. I remember being scared. Say scared, nervous, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't really. Seems a bit like a bit of a blur, to be honest, because I've had that many since, and I've kind of been doing it for so long. It's like if I was to say to someone, what was your first day at work like? You wouldn't be able to tell me what you did for the breakfast and that kind of stuff. It was exciting. Like I remember being dead excited because it's like, right, okay, you've trained, for this long. You're at that age where you're just going into secondary school and that kind of era. So it's like you got different groups of friends. But yeah, I was buzzing, and I won. I won my first 3 as an amateur, like on the bounce. So I was off to like a good start, and then it's like it kind of gets real after. You the more you have, the more you learn, the more you develop, and so on.
Wow. Did you have like a set coach, or were you all, just because there was loads of kids there, were you all sort of taught the same?
So with boxing, it's like it's a very individual sport, but it's also, especially like in amateur boxing. So it's like, my club, for example, Triumph, there was classes running from. This is by the time I was finishing, but there was classes from like 4:30 to 5:30, half 5 till half 6, half 7 till like 9, and that was from like the kids, the juniors, the youths, and then obviously the seniors, and the ones that were better than most kind of thing. So that was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Sorry, Monday. Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then on a Wednesday they'd do a females class at like 6 till 7, and there'd be like an adults class 7 till 8, and it was the same on Friday.
Standard Triumph. There's a big room and there's a side room. Where the hell's the boxing take
So
place?
if you keep going around the car park, there's like a lovely shed,
Right.
nice long shed.
So it's not where the bar is.
No.
There's christenings and stuff.
It's tucked away. It's right next door to the tap dancing studio.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I've heard people say about the Triumph, and I'm like,
Yeah.
do they do boxing in here?
Yeah. It's been there, way before my time, and it will, long may continue.
So
as
it's
well.
still going.
Yeah.
Right.
Still going, still producing champions, and good talent, and doing well for the community as well, I guess.
Wow. Okay. You left school. What was life like for you then?
It's probably the same as most normal kids, really. Not really knowing what they want to do or where to go, but knowing you've got to earn money, you've got to stay out of trouble almost. And of course, like I'm still boxing, and now I've always said it, and I'll say it to anyone. From the age of like 16 to 18, that's like the difficult age for boxing, because it's like you get introduced to drinking, girls, going out, driving. You're thrown a lot more distractions than when you're 13, 14, 15 kind of thing. So, but fortunately, I had good parents, good friends as well, that like understood what I did, or do, should I say. But as I said, left school, know you got to work. I had no idea what I wanted to do apart from boxing, really. Or it was the case of, I think I said I wanted to box because that's all I really knew, or knew that I was good at. But at the time, it wasn't paying bills, essentially. So
Just on that, did you get any money at this time?
no, nothing. And then left school, and then managed to get a job at, it's gone now, but it was the Guy Salmon Jaguar car garage next to Costco. Managed to get an apprenticeship there, almost on a whim, really. Like, I'll say thank you to my old boss Andy. He believed in me almost, in the sense of, he's got a lad who brought a CV and had no grades, but still had the courage to go in, sit down for interview, and I probably managed to talk my way to get the job. I obviously had to work for it as well. I had to do work experience, all that kind of stuff. But so he put me through my apprenticeship there. Fortunately, in order for me to pass, I had to resit maths and English. Okay. So I had to go back and do that. Eventually I passed that, being 18, 19, redoing maths and English. I was like, what's going on here? But so I was there for 4.5 years, qualified, got my apprenticeship qualifications and all that. And then it kind of got to the point where I was getting to a certain point, like say like in championships, and then I'd lose. And the kids I was losing to, it wasn't that they were better than me, but they'd have better advantages than me. So like they were training full time, they had sponsors, they had this, they had that. So I looked for, or like reached out for a couple of sponsors, managed to get 2.
Wow.
And it was like, right, okay, I need to go all in. I can't be getting up, going to work whole day, and then expect better results from my boxing. So got my sponsors, went into my gaffer, and I said, here's my notice, I'm leaving, kind of thing. And his first initial like response was, where you going? Because it was like I'd not long qualified, and like the usual trajectory was kids would qualify, they'd use the dealership, they'd qualify, and then they'd go try and get a better job. Yeah. More money, whatever. Yeah. And I said, I'm not actually going anywhere, so I'm going to, not pursue boxing. He stood up, shook my hand, and said, I'm with you all the way. So,
that gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, so that was a nice touch, to be honest. And still, still keep in touch now. You know, the guys that I used to work with, they come and support me when I fight and that kind of stuff. So, and then from when I left and, you know, went full time training twice a day, putting more into it. In my last 13 fights as an amateur, I won 12 and I stopped 7. So it was like, well,
when you say stop, do you mean is that knockout?
out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's the proof that was the difference that I was missing. You know,
when you actually had the time to really put your all into it.
Yeah.
So why are sponsors important in boxing? What does that mean?
Well, essentially, it's like they're the ones who fund me to do what I do. You know, be able to train full time. Like, so as it stands now, like I live in Sheffield. You know, that requires accommodation.
That.
Yeah. So
we travelled down here for this.
No. You're not that lucky. I'm joking. Yeah, so I'm actually in Sheffield during the week. Like you say, that requires renting a house, bills, food shopping. You know, and then when it comes to fight competitions, like nutritionists, I get, you know, for my recovery, massages. The list goes on and on and on, you know, of things that people wouldn't even see or think about. But, you know, they're the ones who help me literally do what I do, you know. So if it wasn't for them backing me or believing in me, then I'd be scuppered, or I'd be still, you know, turning ratchets under the car bonnets. Wow. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just wasn't my passion.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So when you made that decision to give it your all and go all in, were there any voices in your head telling you that you might fail?
Never.
Never?
Well, if there was, I wouldn't have done it.
Okay, love that. I mean?
So you have to, you know, you have to be more than, you have to be a bit crazy, I suppose, as well. Because when I actually left, I left for less than half of what I was earning to still go and do what I was doing, you know. So yeah, it was a big jump, but, you know, looking back now, it's paid off.
100%. And I think that's the most important thing about risks and what people do and the passions and the dreams that they follow. It's like, well, if it doesn't work out, what might happen? But also, I'm not going to let it fail. Yeah.
I mean, like you say, like I was still clever. I was still clever in the sense of, like, when I left school, there's always a what if. So, like, I could get a serious injury. I could just fall out of love with it. You know, there are some things that you have to, you know, be serious and think about. So I have got that plan B, you know, but that's why I left, you know, when I did the apprenticeship and applied myself in that in order to get that. So I've always got that to fall back on, but the plan is never to actually fall back on that, if that makes sense. And
I'm behind you all the way. And why not? Do you know what I mean? It's working.
Exactly.
That risk that you took is paying off. Okay, so you gave it your all, you got your sponsors. How did things then start progressing to, like, where you are now?
Sounds cliche, but just hard work, to be honest. Yeah, you, there's not much really to kind of add to it. It's just doing the right things, which is, you know, applying myself, showing up, training, living the life, you know, not associating with the wrong people. You know, all these things play like little percentages, you know, and it's probably got me to where I'm at now, if that makes sense.
Well, you mentioned earlier discipline, and it shows already from just talking to you so far how much discipline you have. Like that age that you mentioned, like 16 to 18, with all of those distractions, you went to Woodlands. It's not the it's not
glitz and glam.
No. So was that difficult for you to stay on that straight and narrow?
Not really. No. I mean, there were situations where, say my dad was probably like a big input because he was dead strict on it, you know, and at the time I'd be like, you know, well, I want to go out with my friends, and he'd be like, well, no, mate, you know, you're fighting in 2 weeks, you can't. And I'm like, yeah. So at the time you think,
yeah.
But then, you know, looking back now, all I can say is thank you. Do you know what I mean? Because now I'm older, I understand why he was like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's a lesson that he taught me without actually explaining anything, if that makes sense.
Has your dad got an interest in boxing? Anything like that?
Has he? Jesus. Yeah. It's, I think, and I actually said to him this morning, because I sparred this morning, and he was buzzing. He said, you know, you made my day. And whatever else. And I said, I hope when I have kids, they make me as proud as what I make you. You know what I mean? And he's just like, you can just tell he's chuffed, you know. So, but for me, I'm just me kind of thing. I can't feel what he's feeling like at that moment.
Yeah.
You know, same as if like when I win a fight, to me it's just winning a fight. Obviously I'm buzzing, whatever else, but he'll have a different emotion towards it, as many others will when I win as well. You know, so it's he can also my dad and many others can. I think they probably appreciate as well. They've seen a young kid, as I said, 8 years old, fighting at 11 years old, to then still be doing it at a high standard and whatever else at this age. You can't not applaud it, if that makes sense.
So your dad kept you on the straight and narrow. As much as you wanted to fight or battle against it, because you would at that age.
Of course.
You listened to him though, clearly, didn't you?
Yeah. I always say the story. Well, I say story, but I'll always say it. It's like, if I was ever, because my mum was always a bit softer. So
right.
my mum and dad are split up, but my mum was always the softer one. So there'd be times where I might be able to blag a day off school or something like that.
Yeah.
And then all she'd ever have to say is, "It's all right. I'll just tell your dad."
I'll tell your dad.
And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm getting my uniform. Or like if I was poorly or I tried to pull a fast one, she'd be like, "Oh, you ain't going boxing then." And then the thought of that, I'd be like, "Oh, right, okay." Do you know what I mean? So like my punishment was never like you're grounded, or it was like, well, the only thing they can take away from me that I'd care about is that. So they kind of knew how to play me like when I was a kid. And I mean, looking back, I can just say thank you, I suppose.
And that's what it's all for.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, you had the input, you had the support from your parents. Dad's was maybe a little bit more strict, kept you disciplined, stopped you from steering off the wrong path. And again, thank you to him because of where it's got you. Then progressed into professional at 21.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you go from an amateur to a professional? What's the difference?
There's many factors.
Just keep knocking people out.
Yeah, just keep training people. It's I don't really know how to explain it, if that makes sense, but that's like that's the natural transition. So like you go from doing it to an amateur, and then you turn professional, and like people think, right, you turn professional, you're going to earn loads of money, and you're going to be this, you're going to be on the TV, you're going to be doing that. But I learned that very quickly. It's not that. You have to see it as like a business, because that's what it is essentially. You have to you have to do things like sell tickets, put on a good performance, work your way up the rankings, navigate into certain positions to fight certain people. And
is that your job to do that? Or
no,
is that like your sponsors?
So that's like my managers and my coaches department, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you turn over, you get like a manager, of course you get a coach. As I mentioned earlier, like I'm training in Sheffield. So when I wanted to make the transition to turn professional, I tried out a few gyms. I'll cut out the story, but ended up in the gym that I'm at now through a friend who reached out to the coach for me, and they're very experienced in the not just professional boxing, but in the whole boxing game as a whole. And yeah, they've guided me since I turned over. Give me tons of advice and essentially helped me out along the way. So to get me to where I am today, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. In terms of you and this progression with your career, how were you still like living? So I know that you've got, is it fiance that you've got?
Yeah.
So how long have you been with her then?
She'll probably kill me if she listens to this now. 7 years this year is.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
so she's been with you quite a lot.
Yeah. She's seen a lot.
A long way.
Sorry, 6, 7 years.
But during this transition of like building your career, how were you still making sure that you lived? Like, did you get weekends off? Could you still be Brad, essentially?
Yeah. I mean, on me through and through, I never put an act on. I never act different around certain people. It's just what you see is what you get, kind of thing. Now, when it comes to like, right, Brad, you're fighting in 6 weeks, I do go into like
and that's how short
That's just like an example.
Okay.
Sometimes it can be less, sometimes it can be more, but like average like 6 weeks. I do go into like a bit of a mode where like I can become quite selfish because my goal's more important than what's going on around me. But I was about to say unfortunately, but it's not unfortunate because I'm fortunate to be doing what I'm doing. But in boxing, that's how you've got to be.
Yeah.
You know, there's no time for, we're going so-and-so's on the weekend. Do you fancy it? No, sorry. You know, can we go out for something to eat? No, sorry.
Yeah,
You know, so it's, as I say, like I'm at a point now where I'm very, very fortunate to have an understanding partner, have an understanding, you know, good group of friends that, you know, they don't try and tease me to come down the pub. I mean, I wouldn't do that anyway because it's not really my character. But they don't ask me to do silly things or go and do stuff when they know I'm in that mode essentially. But generally speaking, I live like a pretty clean life, you know, year round. Of course, I have my downtime. I love a holiday. You know, I do like to relax on holiday with people that I'm comfortable with, essentially. But you'll never see like two different people, if you know what I mean. It's just I'm just me. Yeah. Sometimes weird, sometimes too much. But yeah, I'm just normal, I suppose.
That is what is so important. You have to be you, because
course,
otherwise
you get to find out if not.
Yeah, 100%. And that lifestyle that you're living, you have to live that. Yeah. So if your friends are trying to tempt you to do this and that, I imagine the circle that you've got around you of people
it becomes smaller. Yeah.
Because you have to respect what you're doing. As a friend.
And well, I was going to say, it's not just say like on my front. It's like they also respect and support what I do. So if that's, you know, rather than say asking me to go on a night out, they'll say to me, "What are you doing on Sunday? Do you fancy a walk?" You
Nice.
know, and that's just like the two different. That's just two scenarios. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, 9 times out of 10, I'd prefer to do that anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know, so. But don't get me wrong. Like when like a first term professional, you know, you do fall into the hype of like, right, you fight, and it's like, right, you got after parties and you've got, you know, people to go out with and, you know, see and whatever else. But I think for probably my last, probably like 7 or 8 fights, I've literally boxed and gone straight home. Like, so.
And why is that?
Just I don't know. That's just the way I am. Like, as I say, like I've got like a bit of a ritual, like, because obviously I have to, you know, lock myself away almost for, you know, quite a long time. I do like to take my missus away, you know, the week after or the day after, whatever. Like, we'll be able to do something. I do something with the lads, and then it's kind of like, right, okay, fun's over. What's next, you know? And that's just not how I've had to be, but how I choose to be, you know.
I respect it massively because it can't be easy. It really can't.
It gets it right. It's easy for me now. Okay. Do you know what I mean? But like before, it'd be like, oh, you know, I'm missing out. But then like you wake up the next day and you're like, did I really miss out on much?
Yeah.
I don't think I did.
At the same time, you and your focus and your drive is just going up and up and up. Okay, so let's talk about where you are now in sort of your career, and then I want to hear just about you and your life outside of boxing. So where you are now, as I said at the beginning, we've never met before, but I see certain people reshare your stuff all of the time. So I knew there's a boxer.
Something going on.
Yeah, a boxer and certain people that I follow, like they'd go and watch your fights and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this guy's getting pretty good sort of thing. So how was that journey for you? You turned pro.
I mean, something that did throw me off, because it's like, so when you box as an amateur, people aren't really, I mean, I still had people coming to watch, but like people would never like travel, if that makes sense. My dad, and like there'd be like a small group, like they know who they are, no matter where it was, they've come. My dad never missed a fight. So
I love that.
Yeah. So, and there was a couple of others that would always come with him, and you know, so then when I turned professional, it was like, right, okay, you've got to sell tickets to, you know, to be able to earn and that kind of stuff. And then I think for my debut, I sold like just under 400 tickets. I could have done more, but the venue was at max capacity.
Where was that?
It was actually at the Villa football ground.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so just off just as you come into Birmingham. And for me, I was like, what the
400 tickets.
I was like, what the hell? This is like mental kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so like normally the common trend is whenever someone turns professional, they'll sell well for like their first 2 or 3, then it drops off, then they fight for a title, it picks back up, and then it drops back off again, and then they only come to like big fights. Whereas I've had immense support like the whole way through. Like I've headlined at the Sky Dome and I sold like just under 650 tickets for that. I've boxed on shows in Leicester and sold nearly 300 there. I've boxed in Derby not so long ago and sold way over 200 for that. So it's just like to sometimes to sit down and like comprehend that, it's like wow, So, and that kind of answers your question. How do you stay disciplined? How do you like? I'd be doing people like a misjustice or misservice by not applying myself or giving it me all, because if they're willing to support me, how they have done for the last however many years, it's I'd only be letting myself down there.
Yeah.
So that's like the extra gear that keeps me going.
With the tickets and the selling the tickets, do you have to how does that work? Do you have to physically
You pick them up. You message me and say I want two ringside tickets. If you're far away, then I'll have to post them. But normally, like when I'm fighting and when I've got a fight coming up and I've got to sell the tickets, it's like when I'm in Sheffield, I don't really deal with it because I'm focused on my training.
Yeah.
Like I do that, and then when I come back, it's like right, okay, get my list up. I've got to drop forward here, 2 there.
No, so you've got to do all of that.
And I go around, yeah.
I didn't know that it worked like that.
Yeah. You have to. I mean, I do get helped out as well by like my brother's dad helps me out a lot. People will sometimes go, give me 20 and I'll shift them for you, like sort of stuff like that. But like generally speaking, I'll make sure I've got the time to to go and deliver them to the individual or whoever. Yeah.
Never knew that. Okay.
And it keeps my weekends busy as well. So.
Well, yeah. And you're still focused, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
So these professional fights that you've had, have there been any that have stood out to you that have affected you mentally? So like either in a good way, like, oh my God, like it really improved your confidence, or have any like really shook you?
I wouldn't say like affected me. I mean, I had my first loss as a professional last April, and if you were to ask me on that night, it's like my world's over. I've big whirlwind of mess essentially. Mm-hmm. But upon reflection, days pass. You sit down, you reflect on it. You speak to your team, you speak to your family, and whatever else, and then you assess what went wrong, why it went wrong, and you just keep it moving. And that was probably the best way for me to handle it. I accepted what happened. I didn't dwell on it. I didn't, mope about or anything like that. I accepted it for what it was, kept it moving. I've had 3 fights since, and I'd say got myself back on track, but I got myself in a way better position now. That probably on that night, if you ask me, I would have never thought I could have got to, because as I said, you think, oh, my world's over, but it's not. Time don't stop, if that makes sense.
And I think what's important of what you're saying here is you kept going.
Yeah, that's probably like the main thing, really. Like I could have let it eat me up, and and I've seen it with people who I know. They take a loss, they go off the rails. They use that as an excuse, whereas I didn't do that. But that's not just down to me. That's, again, friends, family, team, people who I've got around me. So,
with a loss, when you analyse it afterwards, speaking from a non-boxing, like I'll watch the big fights.
Winging it.
Yeah, I watch the big fights and I enjoy them. I've got a clue what I'm on about. When you analyse it, can you see where you went wrong, or can you just see where you need to focus on, or is it based on how you're fighting your opponent and what they did?
Yeah, I'll know what I knew what to look back on, if that makes sense. Yeah, so so I kind of assessed it that way.
Right, okay. So there is things that you can pick up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right, okay. Where you're at now in your career, so your last fight was
4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago.
I think, yeah, 4 weeks.
And when's your next one?
It's not. Do you not know? No, it's not actually scheduled yet. So I'm hoping for anything around the end of May, early June, because and then it's like summer, and then like things kind of die off right over summer.
Do they?
We're obviously like everyone going away, school holidays, that kind of stuff. So it'd be nice to get one in before the summer, and then hopefully September, and then back end of the year, October, November, something like that.
When you have a fight coming up, you mentioned like getting in the zone and sort of thing. You'll probably cringe at this, but I've watched the Fury documentary. Have you watched it on Netflix?
Yeah.
So where he goes to camp, he has to get in the zone. He has to just go away.
I'm probably not that extreme,
right?
In the sense of like I cut off everything almost, but as I said, like it's something that I've acknowledged. Like I can be very selfish, but that's just how I've got to be. So it's like, sorry if I've upset you, but we'll get over it, kind of thing. So
by the sounds of things, your fiance, she
understands. Like she'll know when that switch happens, and like she'll change a little bit towards it. Not in like a bad way, because it's probably the reason why we work so well. Because it's like, unfortunately, like I said to her, when I first started seeing her, like boxing's boxing, like I just want you to know that. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm just telling you, like boxing's number one, kind of thing. And like she'll laugh now, but. So like if there ever was anything like a couple of years in or whatever, I'll be like, I told you. And then she's like, yeah. So, but as I said, like I'm dead lucky.
Yeah. Where did you meet?
Just through a friend. Yeah, through a friend.
So she's local?
Yeah, local, couple of years younger, but nothing wild, as normal person, just like myself. And as I said, our dynamic works, and she understands what I do, so that's a bonus as well, really.
Yeah, and that's the reason why you've proposed, right?
Yeah. That's probably why we're still going strong.
Yeah, good. It's important to have that.
You need it, and I think if a bloke says they don't, they're probably lying. Do you know what I mean? But as I said, I'm not.
No, I agree.
I'm not afraid,
Yeah, I agree.
I'll leave it and get ripped to shreds by my pals, but that's all right.
Well, do you know what? You have your journey which you're on. You have somebody who's really important to you in your life, but that individual has to understand what you've got going on in your life, and you need to understand what she's got going on in hers as well. That's how a relationship works. So, by the sounds of things, you've got that. You've got that figured out.
Still learning. Yeah, But listen, it's no one's perfect, are they? So
no. So when you have a new fight coming up, you get in the zone. Around 6 weeks, if you have enough time, sort of training and stuff like that. What's your kind of routine, say on the day of a fight?
Yep.
What is the day like for you? How does it work?
The same as every other, to be honest. I try not to do anything different, because then that's when you can get in your own head and think, oh, I haven't done this.
I'll put my socks on differently.
Yeah. I mean, I have got, not superstitions, but I have got weird ways, or like I've developed routines. I'll tend to get up as normal, walk the dog probably as normal. If I'm at home, some fight weeks I'm away in a hotel, but if I am, then I'll get up, probably still go for a walk. And
just on that, how are you in yourself? Are you like?
Yeah, I'm all right, really. Yeah.
So no anxiety, stuff like that. Is that there?
Of course, like nerves are there.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said there was no nerves. But if there wasn't nerves, then that's when I'd probably be concerned, because you think, oh, am I really bothered about this? Of course I am. So, yeah, walk the dog, breakfast, chill out for a little bit more food, maybe another little stroll just to help the food digest, and then yeah, just chill out, go to the venue, get wrapped up, warm up, do the business, go home. Yeah, it's I'm probably comes across like I'm playing it down, but because it's just like I know what I've got to do and everything just flows, if that makes sense.
Wow. Okay. It's just mental to hear it. Like,
Yeah.
you're literally going to go like a professional fight.
Yeah.
And
In
you're
front of
treating
hundreds of people and
you're
whatever
treating
else,
it like a normal day. But by the sounds of things, that's a coping
it just
mechanism
works.
for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, of course, yeah, of course.
Wow. Okay. So say your coach manager says you've got to fight in 6 weeks. You're fighting this person. Do you usually know who the person is, or would you then have to sort of research during that time?
At this point, I'm at like in my career, yeah, because it'll be like for a title, or it'll be for like an eliminator, or it'll be like a big fight basically. So I'm at the stage now where it would only be not that like I know, but obviously like I know of or heard of kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not the case of you then have to like sit and analyse a load of videos and watch how they fight.
Not necessarily. I mean, of course, I'll check them out and have a look, but that's down to my team to do, and then we'll like execute things in training.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking like from a completely like novice.
A novice.
I've watched the films. That's it.
Yeah.
But that's sometimes why they're the best kind of conversations because I haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
This drive, determination, discipline, stuff like that. Do you ever have down days?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm only human. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, but it's what you do on them days that help build the good days, if that makes sense. So, like, I can accept the fact I'm having a bad day. I've woke up in a bad mood today. It might be because I'm hungry. It might be because I didn't sleep the best. I might have had a bad training session. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's all these scenarios or potential reasons, but it's how you react off them. So it's like there's nothing really like you could do that would be like too like detrimental. But like if you're having a bad day, like normal people would come home and they'd go get a can out of the fridge, or they'd have a drink, or they'd eat crap. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I'd say they're probably the most two common things that people would do. So as long as I avoid doing that, I'm not really having a bad day, am I? So I could be upset up here, but it's my actions that are essentially going to make up here worse. So I'm pretty aware of that as well.
How'd you get yourself out of a bad day?
As I said, just accept it. Just I'm having a bad day today. I've even said, like, I'll say it to like my missus, what's up with you? The initial answer is nothing.
Oh, I'm the same.
Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, what's up with you? I'm just having a bit of a bad day. Just give me a minute. All right. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, and then when I'm better, but like when you're more upbeat and whatever, and then I say, do you know what? It's just because I sparred shit, or I was just starving yesterday because I'm dieting, or do you know what I mean? Like things like that. It sounds silly to probably like a listener, but yeah, they're like, I'd say like things that I'd be able to answer the question to, if you know what I mean.
It makes complete sense, and it is usually our go-to. If someone said, my husband does it to me all the time. What's wrong, Al? No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because I'm thinking I'm not fine because you pissed me off earlier.
Yeah.
But then I'll wait, but he knows me well enough, and he'll then go, you're going to tell me what's wrong, or we're going to wait half an hour? And I'll be like, right, yeah, no, I will tell you what's wrong
sit
now.
Down.
Yeah, but it is normal, and it's so crucial that you've said that, because you sit here as a professional boxer, mental, but you are still a human being.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So a down day is almost, perceived from the public's perception as, well, they're that blinkered. Yeah. They have to stay focused. They can't have bad days. But you're a human being. So for you to say, sometimes I do, could be because I'm hungry, training session didn't go as planned, could have been any one of those reasons. But for you to actually sit there and go, I'm having a bad day, it's not a bad life.
No, and that's what I'm saying. You have to accept it, but in order to accept it, you got to understand. Do you know what I mean? Or you've got to at least ask yourself the question. You know, like I'm an adult. You know what I mean? I'm not a kid anymore who's like who can pass blame onto things or not accept the reason why. You know, so you have to just be a bit mature with it. You know, I know that sounds bit cringe or whatever, but
It doesn't at all. It doesn't at all.
And it's worked for me, you know. So
yeah.
So yeah.
You mentioned adult and kids. I've got a question that I'm interested in. So you know, when you were growing up with your dad, obviously your mum as well, but your dad keeping you on the straight and narrow, or trying his best to, but it's clearly worked. You mentioned earlier when I have kids, and I hope I'm as proud of them and stuff like that. How do you think you'll be as a parent?
Probably worse than my dad.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know really. Like you say, it's hard to say, innit? You know, because you don't really know. Depends if it's a boy or a girl as well.
Yeah.
You know, you got those factors. I'd imagine I'd be softer on a girl than I would a boy, but I'd like to think I've got a good idea on how. I mean, I suppose every parent will try and do it right. They'll reflect on how they were brought up.
Yeah.
What went right, what went wrong. You know, take out this, put in that, and that kind of vibe, if that makes sense. But yeah, I suppose I'll just have to assess it when that day comes.
Okay.
Which isn't soon, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a phrase that I don't know where I've seen it, but I think it's really powerful is that our parents, it's their first time ever being a parent too. You know, the first time on this planet.
Yeah.
So for you to recognise how you were parented and how you may parent in the future is always a really interesting thing to think of. So say you had a little boy and he wanted to get into boxing, how would you feel about that?
I'd probably be sure. I mean, I'd sit here.
So that would be a good thing for you. It wouldn't be like, no, you're not going down my route.
Yeah. Again, it's like it's hard to say because it's like if they were to go into a sport that I didn't really understand, I'd probably have a different view on it.
Okay.
But I know because I do boxing, I know what's required or what he'd need to do in order to either be successful or make it. So would that make me be worse on him? I don't know. Because if I feel like he's doing boxing like a misjustice or not applying himself how he should, I'd probably lose my head over it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if it's like, if he's playing basketball, I don't really understand
You're not gonna know as much,
but I'd support him in the same way how I would if he did boxing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, but obviously I wouldn't really know if he was performing, underperforming, that kind of thing. So
I like your honesty.
yes,
I'd be shocked if you said otherwise. Let's be honest, you're a boxer.
Yeah.
If your son wants to become a boxer, are you going to be tough and strict on him?
Of course.
And I like that. I like your honesty there. Okay, so your career, what does this look like moving forwards? Like next 5 years, for example, where are you going to be?
You can't really you can't really think like that in boxing.
Okay.
Because you don't want to be fixated on a fight next year when you've got two in front of you this year.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? So you have to, because what happens before is like people will, I mean, it's known in boxing for people to have a fight and then sign for another fight, and then the person that they're fighting in that first fight is thinking, "Wow, you've messed up there, mate," because I'm not coming to lose, you know. And then they get beat, and that second fight goes out the window.
Right.
They've lost the money they thought they were going to have on that, and you know you can kind of get into like a bit of a whirlwind. So for me, it's one fight at a time, and you know, natural progression. You know, a bit more success, and like I say, just keep both feet on the ground.
Love that. How does it work with the way in which where you are at now with like, so professional, you've had X many fights, one fight at a time.
Yeah.
So that keeps you from going off. You just stay focused on the next thing in front of you. But in terms of like titles.
My last fight, I won a title.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of put me in line for, the next step up, if that makes sense. So I've just got to, as I say, just stay dedicated and then wait to see what opportunity kind of comes about or presents itself. That's the kind of that's the stage that I'm at now. You do have to be patient, but with that, you've still got to be on your job. You know, you've still got to be training, eating clean, not messing about, and that's and whatever else. So, which I'm doing.
Well, yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
So you keep going. You've got your title. So can someone then come and challenge you to that?
Yeah. So then I can defend it if that fight makes sense. Then I'll defend it, and then win. You then go on from there. So it's a bit like you're playing Jenga. Is it Jenga? I've probably used the wrong game there, but like snakes and ladders. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So you can climb up, but then if you take the wrong fight, you can get like a banana skin almost, and you back down, and you got to work your way back up again.
Mental.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that you've explained that to me because I didn't have a clue. I just watch them. Yeah. Okie dokie. So when I shared on my social media that I had you coming on as a guest,
Yep.
I blurred your face. That was pretty obvious who it was.
Ginger beard still in it or not?
I think a little bit. But some of our listeners asked the question. So one of them was, how do you pick your walkout song?
Do you know what?
I know. I was impressed with that.
That probably
as well.
is a good question because it's like you can sometimes go back to just something that you've had before, you know, or like you say, so like my last few I've used will live and die, and that's mainly because it kind of just brings the city in even more. Like you say, like when you have, I mean, it's a bit different to when you go to the football when you've got 80,000 or whatever singing it, but like even when I'm fighting it, like if I can get 2, 3, 4, 500 people singing then that's special for me as well. Do you know what I mean? And it gets everyone involved because you can sometimes, because it's different types of people who come to the fights. Like I could play a song that I like. That don't mean you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or you might like it, but your partner's like, who sings this?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, whereas at least if I use that song, I know everyone knows it. It gets everyone up for it, and it gets me up for it as well.
I love that. So how much of the song actually gets played? So from you, is it the whole thing? Do you start walking out halfway through?
Sometimes it's been a bit messed up because I've asked for it to be started because it's quite a long song.
So when the drums kick in.
Yeah, so I've asked for it sometimes to be like started at this point, but then it hasn't. And then you stood there waiting, and then I'm thinking I just want to fight, and then it's like, so sometimes it's been a bit messy. Sometimes they've overplayed it, underplayed it, but everyone gets the gist, the vibe.
I love that. We'll live and die in these towns. Amazing. Okay, and then the second question was, how will you know when you've had enough? So like when are you going to retire? How long are you going to do this for?
Another good question. When I stop enjoying it, or when my standards slip. So like if I ever find myself wanting to skip corners or thinking I can skip corners, then I'll have to, well, wait a minute, do you know what I mean? And like assess it that way, because it wouldn't end well if I started doing that.
I like the way that you've thought about that though, or the direction that you've come from. If I start to skip corners, so you're saying at the minute you don't skip corners.
Never.
And you know the reason why you do that, because it gets you to the outcome that you need. So if you notice that you're trying to do it, that will then show you're not as dedicated.
Yeah, or just it just indicates that my care's not really there anymore, or my desire almost, you know. But at the minute, I'm probably trying to do too much, you know. So, and I'll continue doing that.
Well, I am really grateful that you came onto the podcast.
Thanks for having me, most importantly.
Yeah. Oh, no, anytime. The insight that you've given me about boxing, they're questions that I never know.
Just scratched the surface.
The questions that if I ask my husband, he's like, he probably won't even know the answer anyway. But I always think about my listeners and are they thinking this question? So like me saying, what's the sponsor? How does that work?
Yeah.
You've cleared some things up for me. How's it been chatting today?
Fantastic. Yeah, lovely.
Good.
Yeah, no stress for me.
So the next...
I'm about to do no retakes either, which
We actually haven't, have we?
Told you it would.
Yeah, no, well done you. The next fight isn't...
No concrete date, and even when that is the case, it can still sometimes change as well. So I like to hold off. But as I said, like I've got a couple of things have been mentioned, but nothing concrete.
And one last question with that one: how do you deal with that? Are you good when there's no fight?
I've got used to it. I mean, I am someone who does love the routine, you know. So like I do like to know what I'm doing, and you know, and whatever else. Because sometimes when I'm not like that, I'll probably take it too far. So that how I am now, like I'll probably train harder than what I need to now. I'll diet more than what I need to diet now, and then I kind of enter my camp a little bit burnt out. But I've got better over time, you know. So,
wow. Well, I look forward to seeing your journey, and massive respect just for the journey that you've been on, the dedication that you've given to your career, with help along the way. But it is you.
Yeah. The people to spur me on.
Yeah, amazing.
Give me the push.
I've loved it. So thank you so much.
No, my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the You Look Happier podcast. If you are listening to this, please feel free to follow us on our socials, you_look_happier. And if you're watching it on YouTube, please click like and subscribe.